Hey there, everyone. You're live as well, Chris Duane. Welcome to Good Morning Stackers with me, Joe Main, interviewing Chris Duane today. He is on the screen right now. If you are familiar with Chris, you know and love him from, as I fix the lighting right there, know and love him from the Silver Shield series collection of bullion coins started in 2011 or 2012. And if you know Chris from back in that time, of course, one of the largest, if not the largest, silver proponent and champion there has ever been. Of course, the Greatest Truth Never Told series on YouTube. You're talking the Sons of Liberty Academy, which I happen to go through as well, and so much more. And Chris is here today to talk about Silver Squeeze Day on March 31st, and of course, just the general silver thing about why Chris believes silver is basically the linchpin of the entire global financial system, introducing a new paradigm shift as well. And we're just going to have a good old Joe Rogan-esque style chat, just letting everyone know we will do a Q&A at the end. And if you want to give a question for Chris, pop QQQ before you write your question. I can see it in the chat. I will give preference to super chats as well. Chris, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Wow. Thank you for the introduction. It feels good to have somebody who knows my history, bring me back and, talk about it because it was quite a lot. And all I did was go out there and give it my best in all these different efforts. And, this is where I am now. So I appreciate you letting me come onto your show.
Dude, well, no problem at all. Look, I guess we'll let's give the quick history of you and me. Not that there's a massive history of you and me, but we have interacted before. So
Hmm.
I'm going to toot your horn right now and give you a big thank you from me to you, because you were one of the major people who got me into silver in the first place. So I won't do a full history of me, but I started investing in precious metals in 2010. And that was based off, looking on YouTube, best things to invest in and all that kind of stuff. And I saw silver, and then I found your channels, and I found your work, I found your website, I found the Sons of Liberty Academy and all that. And you were one of the major influences. Now, so I joined your Silver Shield group many years ago, started purchasing the Silver Shield coins. I'll do a little bit of show and tell right here. I was going to do a little bit later, but this is the first one that I
Yep.
bought. Of course, you're very familiar, and everyone else is very familiar. This is the
That came out really
2012.
good.
Yeah, man. The Debt and Death silver coin, the original one from
Yep.
2012. And then you let me and made me go down the rabbit hole. And then we've talked previously to that. We've done strategy sessions before where you were offering, to talk people one-on-one over Zoom. You gave them, information and strategy stuff about investing in silver and other life things. I took those on board. 2013, I decided to work in the bullion industry
Hmm.
based off of, your work and others' work. I started working at the first gold and silver bullion deal that I ever worked at, which was Gold Stackers. And then in Gold Stackers time, I actually introduced the bosses to you, and I introduced the bosses to the Silver Shield products, and we started actually getting in the Silver Shield products as well. I've got a bit more show and tell later on. And so you're one of the main reasons, man. So I'm really happy for you to be here. Let's do, if you don't mind, because
I,
back in the
thank
heyday.
you.
Oh,
Thank you for saying all that. It's not often. It's been a very lonely journey for me. I feel like I've had to do this all on my own and not really form a group of people. Even though I had the Silver Shield group, I felt like I had to kind of go out and go do this all on my own, because I know that when organizations form I'm looking to kind of overthrow the entire financial system. So I didn't want to have a whole bunch of people, involved in this. So, it feels good to have somebody say that I helped influence them in the positive way, and it's made a good influence on their life. So,
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we'll talk more about that. Again, this is going to be just a pretty free flowing chat. But I'd like to start off with, for those who were not there for the last public participation phase, the mania phase of the silver bull market going 2010, 2011, for those who aren't familiar with Chris Duane's work, because Unfortunately, the YouTube channel doesn't exist anymore, as far as I'm aware. You got ostracized and banned from YouTube, so there's none of that big body of work. I think some people still have put up the Sons of Liberty Academy. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but you were one of the largest there, and you're still up there, but it was so big back then. For those new stackers, the newbies that have come on board in the last couple of years at least, and I've got a lot of those on my channel, can we give a bit of just a quick history lesson of you and your silver journey, when you started investing, why you did, and give that sort of micro version of the macro story, if that's okay?
Sure. I mean, I was in I don't know where to start. I was looking for investments for myself, and I kept running across silver as one of the best ways of doing it. There was only a few people that even covered silver, and I got involved in it in like 2005, 2000, I think 2005. And there wasn't even YouTube back then. I don't think, like, it was not a really big thing. So when I ended up many years later on, I ended up selling my house at the top of the housing bubble at the time, and took tax-free gains and put it all into physical silver at the time. And that's when silver was at like $7 an ounce. So then I've watched silver go up and down, and it wasn't until 2011 when I wrote the Silver Bullet, Silver Shield, that I put together all the information that I felt I put for myself to make sure that if I'm going to invest my entire life savings into this, I better be damn sure about it. So I put out this article called The Silver Bullet, Silver Shield in February of 2011. And it came right at the time when silver was just about like right now, where it's at like $35, and it was looking to break to the upside. And then that's when I think I helped push silver up to $50 when we had it in 2011 because of that article. Now, that article was read 440,000 times and translated into 7 different languages. And I know that, you know, I feel that I got censored here in the United States, but that the information that I told about silver got translated into different languages, where other countries like Russia and China probably looked at the same kind of things that I was looking at and said, okay, this guy's right. We're going to stack a lot of silver. And now Putin has declared that they have 29,000 tons of silver, and China has got 22,000 tons of silver. And what does the United States have? We don't have anything. What does Australia have? We don't have anything. And it's because of the censorship of I think me and a lot of other silver people out there, that we don't have a national agenda to stack silver. It's the most strategic commodity there out there next to oil. It's got 10,000 industrial uses. It's the most natural form of money. We're going to have a monetary collapse. We're going to have an industrial demand. All the new technology for silver. I mean, have you heard about the Samsung silver solid state battery that they have for cars now? It
No,
gets 600-mile charge on a 9-minute charge. 600-mile range on a 9-minute
I
charge.
did
If
hear
you have
about
an
that
electric
actually.
car,
Yes.
that's pretty amazing. So, but that's just one more use of silver that's coming in the future, and in a market that we're already in decline. So, I've been in this silver game for a long time, but I'm still very bullish on physical silver, because I think we're closer to a day of judgment where there's going to be a market reaction that's going to swing this market so big that it's going to knock its socks off.
Man, I love when you go. It's information.
It's
I
been
love
a
it.
long time too, so
Oh
I'm
man, I know.
I'm I'm very rusty.
Yeah, that's okay, man. Give me one sec. I'm going to actually plug in some earphones here just to see. Someone's saying they can't hear me very well, so give me one second. See if that comes through a bit better. Let me give that a go. All right. Doesn't look as fancy, but aesthetically, but that might be better. All right. So let me know, people in the chat, if I'm now coming through. Okay. Yeah. What is that? That's something going on there. Could it be echo cancellation? It could be. All right. Give me a sec. All right. So I'll ask the questions and we'll keep going. So top of the housing bubble. My goodness me, you did that, and what a great get. So And with that
Well, it's
silver,
allowed me that investment has allowed me to become an advocate the way that I did. Really threw myself out there,
right?
knowing that what I'm talking against is the biggest power out there. I mean, the first
Mm.
coin that you showed there was the Rothschilds. They own all the world's central banks. They're behind both sides of all wars since Napoleon. And the very first coin that I did was called "In Debt and Death They Trust," and
I'm
it's
showing
basically a
that.
call to arms.
I'm showing that on the screen right now.
It was a call to arms, and it rallied the silver stackers, and it was doing really good until it all fell apart. And can't
Yeah,
really get into all that again,
yeah.
um, but yeah, but because I threw myself into this, it's allowed me to self fund this revolution
Mm.
and putting out all this information. And I did the Sons of Liberty Academy, which I was able to recover from another website. And that was a 1776 PowerPoint presentation that I put together with 46 hours of video that I recorded that put together all the information out there that I had studied from reading over 500 books over the past 3 years, trying to understand and uncover all the conspiracies and how it all works together, and how it's all run by a debt-based monetary system, and it's a Ponzi scheme, and it's all going to blow up, and silver's going to be the biggest beneficiary of all this. And I put all that out there for free, and it proved to be a great thing for me to reach a whole bunch of people out there that probably never would have ever looked at silver or understand it. And when you stack silver, it's a kind of a lifetime experience. It's not something you get into and out of very seriously. It becomes part of your life because you're tied to it.
Yeah, man, totally. Look, and on the Sons of Liberty Academy, very quickly, I went through that, the entire thing. So if people aren't aware of what this is, it can be found on YouTube, I believe. The Sons of Liberty Academy is, 1,776 PowerPoint presentations with you talking over the top of them. And it's almost 48 hours worth of video presentation. Literally goes into 10, I think it was, different modules, talking about basically, first off, just how the world works as far as, you see it in terms of how reality works. Everything. I mean, you were the person who taught me what the word COINTELPRO means. Like
Yeah.
for example, and this is me coming up. I was in my, say, early 30s, so I'm out of teenagehood. I'm out of my early 20s. I'm in my early 30s going, I've got a bit of cash. What do I do? Invest it. Silver. Wow. Silver, silver, silver. Sons of Liberty Academy. Oh my God, the world works like this. That kind of thing. So you
Right.
really, as I've said to many people, it took me all the way down the rabbit hole. But what I loved is that it did take me all the way back out again and I've shared this. What I've done over the years is I've imbibed so many different people's stuff. So I've used your vernacular, your terminology over the years with my subscribers. So, for example, we've talked about the 5 stages of awakening, which is likened to the 5 stages of grief. You've got, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And what I loved about the Sons of Liberty Academy, and I highly recommend everyone go out and do it, it's older now, and at some points you had like a massive flu and we could hardly hear you, if you remember that. I remember that. That's hilarious. But you get through the end of it going, okay, I kind of learned how the world kind of works now. This is way different to what I thought. But I'm not in the depression phase. I'm not depressed. I'm feeling invigorated and energized, and that's what really got me into getting into silver. It got me to start working in the bullion industry as well. And since then, I've worked for 3 major bullion dealers: Gold Stackers, Bullion Now, Ainsley Bullion as well, and now I do this weekdaily live show. But I would like to touch upon. Let's talk. Get more into the silver things and what you're seeing specifically with what's going on in the world right now. And let's talk about Silver Jubilee, because I've had lots of people on my channel say, they believe there's going to be a debt jubilee, for example. All debts are going to be wiped. I keep the ideas open and free flowing on my channel. I'll listen to anyone with any opinion, and I'm really interested to know more about it from you. It's been a number of years since I've, gone down that rabbit hole with you. Can you give me another lesson on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it right now is we're at the end of the everything bubble. Everything is in a bubble right now except for physical silver. So I think that we're going to have this ending of a climactic ending of a global generational debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme, and it's going to end up taking down the entire global economy because of all the debt that's out there.
How do
And I
you
think silver's.
So I was going to say, so doing that. How do you think that plays out? Are you like, oh, it could play out like this, it might play out that, or are you like quite specific, like, no, I think it's going to play out X, Y, Z?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to look at some markets that are. I mean, probably the quickest market to look at to is the commercial real estate market. Cities in general on Earth are outdated civilization that's been, that we don't normally need anymore because we have the internet. So there's going to be a big commercial real estate collapse that I would think leads the whole global economy in revaluing that. China just buries, brand new buildings that they build because they build too many of them.
Ghost
So, I mean,
cities.
they just blow them up, because it was money wasted. So I would think commercial real estate would be a big button for the global economy. But something as big as cryptos could fall apart. I've never been a proponent of cryptos. I think that the
I
whole
know.
silver stock community really sold their souls to cryptos, and all it did was create little Ponzi schemes for everybody to basically screw each other out of it, and it distracted from what I felt was the real solution, which is physical silver, as being the real way of really fighting against the system, because the banks are short, I think, 840 million ounces, which is almost 175 days worth of global silver production. That is going to be impossible for them to cover if we're already in a market where we're in a deficit of 200 million ounces a year, that we're consuming 200 million ounces more ounces of silver than we mine every year. And then we're going into the fifth year of it. So we have the banks close to 1 billion ounces short, and then you got a silver supply which is getting diminished, and now the gold to silver ratio is down to 1 to 6 now. So how does the gold to silver ratio trade at a 1 to 90 when the gold to silver ratio in mining is 1 to 6, and the vaulted gold to silver ratio, the amount of gold in vaults is 6 times more than silver. So to me, silver should be worth more than gold because it has 10,000 industrial uses that gold doesn't have. So any price that gold can print, I think ultimately the price of silver needs to get up there. And that's what I try to do when I educate people about physical silver. I get them off of these dollar targets because it's frustrating sitting around $35 for 7 months just to go up $1. I mean, that's not going to change the world. But I tell you what, a gold to silver ratio will change the world. And if we end up in a financial crisis where there's going to be a meaning behind gold and silver, where people are going to stop trading paper claims on top of it and get the actual metal, there's going to be a lot of people racing for the amount of physical silver that's not out there anymore. And that's when the music's going to stop. And then what? I mean, the whole global economy is going to have to revalue all this stuff. So silver, to me, is the center point, the most fraud, the most built up energy behind it. And at some point, it's going to break. And maybe it'll be March 31st with Silver Squeeze. Maybe that'll be it. But, it's got to come at some point.
I agree that it probably has to come at some point. We'll talk about Silver Squeeze Day in a second, but I found this interesting, this interesting fact, which I only just really kind of found out not that long ago, and it kind of blew my mind, which is, and I think this is true as far as I'm aware, out of every single asset in the world that existed in 1980 and that still exists today, silver is the only asset which has not risen above its 1980 price. What the ever-loving you-know-what? So
that's the manipulation that we're
and so then the question goes, well, why would that be if every single other asset that existed over its 1980 price, why the hell is not silver? And, of course, many people talk about silver manipulation. And if anything is going to give credence, which I think there is a lot of credence to silver massively manipulated, it's the cornerstone of everything, the global financial system, it's that one fact alone. Why? What's the reason why? Is everyone should be asking, why is it still below $50 US? By the way, It's still below 50 2025 US dollars, not 50 $1980, which in inflation adjusted terms now is around about 130 to 140 US dollars right now. So for you, Chris, is it as simple as saying, yeah, because it's massively manipulated, it is the cornerstone of everything? Is there anything else you can add to maybe the reasons why it has never even gone over $50 for like 40 something
Right.
years?
They call it the largest cup and handle formation as you go drink your coffee. The
Yes, yeah,
longest cup and handle formation. It's a 45-year cup and handle
yes, it
formation
is.
where
We've spoken about
silver
that.
silver went up to $50 in 1980 and then also in 2011. And ever since then, it's been drowned down. Now, $50 in 1980, as we all know, is a lot more than $50 today. But one factor I try to use as a frame of reference, in 1980, the United States national deficit was only $1 trillion. Now it's
Right,
$36 trillion. So there's
right.
36 times more dollars chasing after less and less silver, because back in the 1980s, we probably had 1 billion ounces in a strategic stockpile and coins in our circulation still that still had silver in it, and that there was a lot more silver out there. Now we're, what, 50, 40, 45 years past that, and 5 years into the silver deficit where we're consuming more silver than we're mining. There's less silver out there, and the mining ratio, I'm sure, has dropped. I don't know anybody who's got the mining ratio from 1980, but I know now it's 1 to 6, and maybe it was
Yep.
1 to 9 or 1 to 12 back then. But the mining ratio is collapsing. So I think that silver needs to get, if we get to a 1 to 6 gold to silver ratio, that means silver should be at $500 right now,
Yep.
and it's
So,
not. And then
yep. So I'm showing the silver price at the moment, and you're coming out on the audio as well. So I'm literally showing that cup and handle formation, and we kind of got to talk about price at some point as well, because every man and his dog have that price dollar denominated terminology. So this is a silver on the 3 month chart. I've shown this a million times before. Massive cup and handle. This is a logarithmic chart, and you can see very clearly, if everyone can see this, you've got the from the early 90s, sorry, from 1980 until no, I'll do it the opposite way. Early 90s until the peak in 2011. That's a roughly 1,200% move. And then if you do just a measured move from breaking out eventually, when we do, because we will, out of 50 US dollars in 2025 dollar terms, if that cup and handle fully plays out, that takes it just to a US dollar term. It could take a bit of time, but 700 US dollar silver, that's only if the cup and handle, 44-year cup and handle, plays out, which there's no reason to think that it won't. So I'll go back to our screen here, you and me, but dollar denominated terms, I mean, I see $700 silver easy. The thing I always tell people, and I think this is one thing you taught me back in the day, was, look, silver could be $10,000 an ounce, $1,000,000 an ounce, but what's the price of a loaf of bread at the same time? So you do have to measure it in relation to other goods and services. But when I say something like $700 silver, this and that, that's like chump change, right, to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I can make a case for a 1 to 1 gold to silver ratio. I've already told you earlier that the mining ratio is 1 to 6 gold to silver ratio, and the vaulted above ground that's been mined, all the gold that's ever been mined has been treasured and stored and taken care of, and silver's been used and abused as an industrial metal. That there's hardly any stockpiles left, but there's 6 times more gold in vaults than there is silver. So if
Yep.
you take all the gold and silver above and below ground, it's about a 1 to 1 gold to silver ratio, which would
Yep.
make silver $3,000. Now, how come it doesn't do that? Because there's a lot of derivative contracts that are on top of this paper silver manipulation, and they dump at 10 o'clock every day. They dump all the shares and it crushes silver down, and then we spend the rest of the day either eking up or backing up. But there's a tremendous amount of paper silver manipulation, and this can all continue until the music stops. When there's a default at the LBMA or the COMEX, or there's just no more registered silver available, something's got to give at that point on a global basis, and it's going to be the biggest financial event, I think, in all of human history, because gold and silver are the only natural money out there. We're swimming in derivatives and digital illusions of wealth and stocks and cryptos and all sorts of digital assets out there. And I've already mentioned even the physical assets, like the real estate market, is highly susceptible to the paper manipulation. So um, silver is just going to be the safest place to be. Silver is going to have the most upside potential, more so than gold. I've already talked about how the gold to silver ratio has got to collapse. We're at a ridiculous 1 to 90 gold to silver ratio. If
I
anything, I
just
would like to see the silver stackers on March 31st not only buy silver but also sell their gold, because that would send a
ah
real message that you could go buy more silver for that.
yeah, right.
And that would send a real message, like a double bubble. Like, not only are we buying silver, we're selling our gold because we don't want it anymore at 1 to 90 gold to silver ratio.
Yeah, I just shared before as you were talking the gold to silver ratio as well. So I'll share that again. And this is where we are on the gold to silver ratio. For those uninitiated with the gold to silver ratio, you have to be watching it. Okay, it's one of the ones to watch. As this number goes up, gold is outperforming silver. As this number goes down, silver is outperforming gold. You see very clearly here the sort of main range that the gold, and this is a historical chart only going back to 1998, so we've got much more historical values previously. But on this one, you can see the normal range is usually somewhere between 80 to about 50. Now, there are periods where gold is the flavor of the month or of the year of the water, and it has outlying regions where gold went to as high as 125 to 1. But then you can see, like in 2011, for example, in the peak of the silver market, silver absolutely caned gold and went down to a ratio of, now this is 32 to 1. Okay, so, and this is what I tell my subscribers, as you see the gold to ratio go up, does that mean you should be buying gold? Well, no, it actually means you should be buying silver, because we're even now at 1 to 90, we're in the outlying territory of the normal range for the gold to silver ratio. That thing is going to drop eventually. And as you believe, I mean, that's 1 to 32 right there. We're talking even down here, 1 to 20. And here's like a 1 to 6, 1 to 7 ratio here. And potentially even that 1 to 1, as you're saying. But I think, bar nothing else, even if you're buying silver here, and you even wait to, it gets down to 1 to 50 or 1 to 32 again, you're massively increasing for those people. And I'll go back to the screen for you and me. For those people who, look, there are going to be and of course you'll agree, I think, Chris, there's going to be a portion of people that go, okay, the debt jubilee and the silver thing, that might happen, but I can't, that's not guaranteed. I don't have a crystal ball and all that. But hey, I just at least want to maintain or increase the wealth I have at the same time. Am I going to buy gold or am I going to buy silver? Well, with the gold to silver ratio so damn high where it is, and where even the normal range of where it sits at over just the last 20 something years, silver is the absolute no-brainer. Now I have another question for you. And tell me, I want your thoughts. I've never heard you say this before, I don't think, about silver physical versus something like a silver miners ETF or an index fund or anything like that. Where do you sit with that? Because there are periods of time where being in the silver miners can increase your physical silver stack, because they sometimes outperform the physical silver itself. What's your opinion on that?
I'm a silver maximalist. I've
I thought
invested
you'd
my
say
entire life
that.
in physical silver. So me trying to pump up a mining stock when I
Yeah.
see that they're just as manipulated as anything else out there. In fact, they're probably their own worst enemies. I
Yeah.
liked already mined silver. I don't like in the ground, somebody to poking in the ground. It's going to maybe get it out of there, because what I feel is when times are bad, they're regulated, national, or they can be nationalized, regulated, confiscated, shut down operations, all this other stuff. When times are good, and then you have no recourse. Like, there's no way back. So
Mm.
I'm not a fan of any digital illusion of wealth, because like I said before, I come at this with, we're already in the everything bubble. And to me, everything is going to go. And at the end of the day, there's this thing called Exeter's pyramid, where John Exeter was a former Fed banker, and he drew a pyramid of liquidity going from the most illiquid, uh, intangible, debt-based, assets like cryptocurrencies and derivatives and stocks, down to bonds, down to cash, down to gold, down to silver, and silver's at the very tip of it. And that I think silver is going to massively outperform gold as it has 10,000 industrial uses that gold doesn't have. So gold to me is a cursed relic of fallen civilizations. It's the leftover. That's what they get looted at the end of the civilization, and it gets passed on to the next civilization that keeps it up there. But silver to me is a miracle metal with 10,000 industrial uses. It's the most conductive. It's the most reflective. It's antimicrobial, antibacterial, anti-cancer. It's the best reflector out there. So I mean, it's got 10,000 uses. Do you know that silver has more patents than all other metals combined? I mean, if we're talking about having a strategic stockpile, the United States military is insane not to have a strategic stockpile of silver, given all the silver that's used inside the military. That's just the military. What about our tech companies? What about automotive automotive companies with this new Samsung silver solid state battery that gets
Mm-hmm.
9 minute charging for 600 miles? The demand from China and Russia and India of silver are going to far out swamp this. And what I'm afraid is that the United States is going to wake up broke, betrayed, and vaxxed, and that the gold will be gone from Fort Knox. We won't have a silver strategic stockpile, and that the whole world's economy is going to go into ashes, and that we're going to try to rebuild from something. Rebuild the dollar from what? If we don't have silver or gold, what's it going to be? Another currency that's just going to fail.
Mm. Do you think I know you've talked about it before many times, but Fort Knox gold, what about this whole Trump says, hey, let's I'm going to check the gold and see if it's all there. A, do you think that's going to happen? B, what do you think they'll find?
I think they know it's already gone. The last
that's what I think too. I think that too.
Yeah. But there's no benefit in them saying it's gone. So that's like the dirty little secret.
That's the thing.
Passed. But I did hear Trump say, what if the gold is gone? And that was the last thing I heard about it. That was like 3 weeks ago. So that says to me the gold is gone. And what does that mean for the dollar? What does that mean for the price of gold? Now all the stolen gold is out there. Do they demonetize gold to take the incentive out of there? I don't know. But to me, it seems like it's going to be very positive for silver because silver is so used in our daily life. They can never just confiscate it and take it off the market like they did with gold. So
that's right.
To me, silver has a lot more benefits for dollar investment than gold does. And that's why I said if we can make silver stacking day on March 31st,
yes, let's talk about that.
Gold selling day, that would be a really cool thing to do.
Now, so let's talk about that. Silver Squeeze Day. Hashtag Silver Squeeze Day, March 31st. What's the general message? Now, these have happened before where everyone on the day buys silver. Can you just quickly, for the uninitiated, walk us through Silver Squeeze Day? What's the call out? What's the call to action on that day?
The idea is a coordinated, conscious effort to buy silver on one day to hopefully move the market in a positive way that will scare the crap out of the banks, that will make them start covering their shorts and lead to a lot higher price of silver and get us out of the ability for the banks to be shorting 840 million ounces of silver that has never been mined before.
Yep. And will you be doing obviously where you're going to be purchasing some of your own metal? How are you going to participate in
through the Golden State Mint?
Oh yeah, great, fantastic.
Through the Golden State Mint. That's where they do all my Silver Shield coins.
They do, yes. They've been a partner of yours since like 2013. That's when I introduced you to my bosses at Gold Stackers. We were buying everything through the Golden State Mint over there. Here's a bit of a side question, and you didn't know I was going to do this. Of course, my show is sponsored by a couple of different people, so I will mention those people in just a second. But out of interest, how long has it been that you've understood that gold and silver bullion dealers in the States, they give you, if you buy over a certain amount, you get free shipping?
Yes.
That's a thing, right?
Yes.
Did you know that in Australia, until semi-recently, and I'm making you part of my infomercial right here, but Australia's bullion dealers have never done that in the last, I don't know, for like decades. So you could spend, $1 million of gold or $1 million of silver, and they won't ship it to you for free. Which I always think was a weird thing. I'm going to share the screen in just a second. I didn't mean to put you in there, but out of interest, very quickly, if anyone wants to purchase gold and silver on, or particularly silver on March 31st in Australia, and you live in Australia, if you want to buy it from the States, go to Golden State Mint, for example, or any of the amazing other bullion dealers. And if you buy over a certain amount, you'll get free shipping. Perth Bullion Exchange, perthbullion.com.au. It's literally the only dealer in Australia, which only started in May, that actually gives you free shipping when you buy over a certain amount. So if you head over to perthbullion.com.au, buy an ounce of silver. You won't get free shipping with an ounce of silver. You have to buy 20 or more items in your shopping cart. You can have a mix and match of items, one of this, two of that, three of that. As long as you have 20 or more items, instant free shipping, express shipping, sign-on delivery, insured, all that good stuff, except you get it for free. So that's the quick little plug, and I appreciate you surreptitiously taking part of that, Chris. So I highly recommend everyone go out and buy an ounce of silver. I'm going to be going out and buying an ounce of silver as well. Let's touch upon some other stuff here. So
I had an idea for the silver stacking community.
Yeah, go ahead.
The other one is go out and on March 31st and buy your carry coin. I've done over 500 different designs from Silver Shield.
Yeah, right.
And they cover all sorts of things, everything from conspiracies to how the government works to presidential quotes and stuff like that. But
I'm going to share your screen. Share the Silver Shield collection screen right now for you.
Chris Duane,
yeah, go ahead.
Duane, silvershieldcoins.com.
Yeah, got it right here. So this is all. I mean, take a look at this amazing collection. Like Chris brings out these micro mintage versions of his designs. 2 a week. Is that still correct? 2 a week?
Yeah, still doing 2 a week, and it's been, it's tough to do. I mean, try coming up with 500 different designs over the last 13 years. Yeah. It's been a real challenge to keep it going, but I'm driven by my passion and knowing that at some point silver is going to break free, and it's going to be the biggest story ever. And all this work that I put out there, planting seeds with people, giving away all my life's work away for free, having it all taken down and losing everything over and over again, that somehow at the end of the day, when silver breaks free and makes a huge move against gold, that people like you are going to come back out of it and say, thank you, Chris, for spending all that time and effort trying to educate me and get me firm on this, because it'll be the single largest event in human history when this financial Ponzi scheme collapses, and silver's going to be the most safest place to be. And I don't know why it's not more popular, and I don't know why it's not over $35, and I don't know why we can't get this movement going quicker.
I think it's just a matter of time, and I think, and unfortunately, and this is just a personal opinion on this, it's going to have to be, and I think you already said this in a recent video, it's probably going to be the price going first. And then everyone starts talking about it. Your new investors, every man and his dog is piling into silver. Silver's brand new all-time highs, not inflation adjusted, over $50. Oh, silver's the next best investment. Why, you should be invested in silver. All that kind of stuff. That's probably going to be the thing, so long as it is allowed to get above $50. Now, I believe at this point, my opinion, that I don't think there's anything they can do now. It's been this 45-year cup and handle. I think there would be too much of a massive kick up and a stink about people complaining, going, did you know triple tops aren't a thing? Hey, market manipulators, triple tops aren't a thing. We're at $50 and what, you're trying to suppress it again? I don't think that can happen. Now, anything can happen. I could be wrong, but it feels like that we've done the big cup, we've got the handle now. Once we break that 50, I think it's on, like Donkey Kong. Is that your thought too?
Yeah, I think that we'll start having a paradigm shift, because this isn't going to happen in a vacuum. Like right now, we're watching all these prices go up and down because the markets are working, but we don't have any financial panic in the market. We don't have banks collapsing. We don't have governments, in revolt, and people out on the street, and all sorts of stuff that I think is going to end up happening. But when you look through all that stuff on that kind of day, when it counts the most, silver is going to be worth the most. So to me, it's just the safest place to be. And I've been in it for 14 years right now, or 15 years. Oh God, almost 20 years.
Wow. You just had
But it really turns
that
into an
sudden revelation. Oh my God, it's been 20 years.
because I'm getting old. I've been at this for such a long time. You're sitting here saying you want to be patient with it and watch it go up to 50. I want overnight revaluation. I want people to get more spiritualized about silver.
Yeah.
Silver is really a spiritual way of fighting against the debt and death system. To me, silver is the Achilles heel of the Rothschild banking system that this whole debt and death system is all about. And it's a perpetual war cycle, and it can end overnight if we had enough awakening to it. And I think that the only way that it's going to end up happening is at some point the last ounce of silver is going to be off the market of the LBMA, and then the music's going to stop, and then there's going to have to be a global shift or world order or Jubilee, which is what people have been talking about,
Mm.
where we just go, hey, let's start all over again. Let's not use debt-based money. Let's revalue gold and silver at that. And that's what makes countries successful. The United States became successful because of the Coinage Act of 1792 that defined silver as 371.25 grains of silver, and then put us on a 100 cent standard and defined the dollar terms of gold and silver and copper. That's what made this country great, and we can do that again. But we clearly we need to have silver revalued much higher. And when it happens, the dollar price targets are going to be, they'll go by too fast for you to really pay attention to them. That's
Right.
why I try to get people to really focus on the gold to silver ratio, because that takes away the dollar's magic of saying, oh, it's at 50. Well, big deal. $50 in 1980. Well, there was 35 times less debt. So does that mean that silver should be $18,000 now? I
Yeah.
mean, you could start printing any amount of money out there. And if we end up in a very big currency crisis where we try to hyperinflate $36 trillion worth of federal debt and $100 trillion worth of commercial real estate all over the world, and all this other stuff, it's the banks are going to be screaming. So and they're going to be short physical silver at the same time. So what I see is that you're going to have a collapse at the most massive level, and silver is going to take off at the same time, and it will become unobtainium, meaning that it will not be available for sale. And I think the way that will work is we're going to end up having a day where silver is just going to sell out all dealers across the globe,
Mm.
and everybody's butthole is going to pucker up, and we're going to go, what's the price of silver then?
Yeah.
Because there will be plenty of gold out on the market, I believe,
Sure.
because I think there's a lot more gold out there than there is physical silver. And silver has that 10,000 industrial uses that guys with very big checkbooks and
Yep.
militaries and corporations
Just scoop
and
right up.
PDPs, they're
Yep.
going to try to suck it all up, and they're going to pay
Absolutely.
any price for it.
Yep.
So I'm hyper bullish. I'm like I said, I'm a silver maximalist. I believe that physical silver is the only place to be at the end of the day, and that gold to me is our last final boss that we have to take care of, because to me the gold men are the ones that have enslaved humanity with debt, taxes, wars, and usury since they betrayed Christ with 30 pieces of silver and crucified Christ onto the cross of materialism, and we've been suffering under that enslavement ever since then. So this revelation of silver at a higher level will bring a jubilee, I believe, of global debt, and also revalue this physical silver as a new silver standard for the world to trade with. And I think the United States, because they've sold their soul to these cryptocurrencies, is in a horrible position right now relative to what the BRICS have been able to do. The BRICS listened to me. They bought silver. They stacked silver. They prepared for this
Mm.
because they're going to use it in industrial purposes, but because it's going to have monetary value that's going to far exceed even their value of a gold reserve. So to me, silver has been one of the best investments to be in. And I really wish the American and the Australian and the Anglosphere would get more bullish on physical silver. And it's going to be up to individuals at you and my level to stack silver, because
Mm.
clearly our government and our government's on a suicide mission with all this dollar debt and not having a prepared system of backing up our financial system with gold and silver. And we're not getting any confidence out of having the audit of the gold reserves in Fort Knox, and it's not just Fort Knox. They would have to do a coordinated audit of all four sites where all the gold is held, in
Mm.
the Federal Reserve, the mint at West Point, Fort Knox, and there's another mint, I think, in Philadelphia where they keep gold. They would have to audit all those at the same time for it to be a legitimate audit, which is to be a massive undertaking. But for Trump to say that, the last thing I heard him say was, "What if the gold is gone?" That says to me the gold is gone, and that a new, harsher reality is coming for America than I think we even expect.
So, first off, I love the fact that you are just as passionate about it now, and it's been nearly 20 years. So, first off, thanks for the passion. And it's really refreshing to see because, if you take a look at some people who have been into something for a long time and they started out and they're all rah, rah, rah back in the day, and then you just see their light just slowly go out over time, and maybe they don't talk about it as often as they just go on to the new thing. You are, for me, like the absolute OG silver stacker rah, rah, rah person out there. And it's really great to see that the passion is not only still there, but actually seems to be even more so back then. So, man, it's great. So, a couple of things I want to show you. I want to show the screen here because, for example, if they want to buy the latest Silver Shield round, and this is the Silver Age one. I'm showing the Golden State Mint website right now. That is on sale. So these are the Mini-Mintages. Can you just give us a quick rundown of what a Mini-Mintage is, please?
Yeah, so this is a unique idea that I came up with in 2012, where I'd come out with a new coin. Let me back up a little bit. As a silver stacker, and I went through all the Sons of Liberty Academy, and I talked about individual liberty over the government's tyranny and stuff like that. I found it a disconnect in my mind that we would have all these silver stackers spend all their money at government mints when the government is the problem. So I came up with a private solution of coming up with my own privately minted bullion. And since I had to kind of innovate on a daily basis to compete against these bigger mints that have, huge resources available to them, I came up with new designs almost on a weekly basis that got, really good collection going for these people. So every week I came out with 2 new designs, and I would only mint what I would sell. And then these coins would go up in value because they're timeless pieces. They were like capturing the information of that time and stamping it into an eternal silver coin to tell a story that will be told for generations. Because coins are all that's left of civilizations. When the United States falls apart, they're going to be able to look back at the silver coins of the United States Mint and the Canadian Mint, and there'll be plenty of those. But Silver Shield is going to have this unique story that was told through these coins. So I call it a Silver Shield singularity of truth, that I encoded all this truth into these coins. And to me, I have like censored truth, like how the Rothschilds own all the banking system, and that the Queen of England married a Nazi, and also that Israel sank the United States liberty, or tried to attack the United States liberty. I made these into coins. I made 9/11 coins. I made COINTELPRO coins. I made all sorts of coins out there. And it was to tell the story of what we're up against in the form of silver, which I think was a completely unique human endeavor. I mean, when has ever an individual that wasn't a king, a pharaoh, a pope, or a president been able to mint coins? I mean, kings were able to do that, and now I've been able to keep doing it for 14 years, and it's been tough because it's not been an easy silver market. But I know that when we get to the end of day, when I look back with my children and I say, this is what Daddy put all of his effort into, this is going to pay off the biggest. And I wouldn't want to be in any other asset class right now than being in physical silver.
It's very interesting. Of course we do it for our children. And since we chatted, and I didn't have kids when I first met you and got into all that sort of stuff. I have kids now. I know you have more kids than you had previous to when we first chatted. Out of a quick little side thing, which I thought I said I'd mention at some time in the show. and I won't mention names if you don't want me to mention names, but I think your firstborn son had just been born when we were sort of chatting a little bit back then, and then I had my firstborn son, and out of interest, what did I name him? The same thing as your son. And which is interesting. I didn't actually do it because of you. I'd had that name for a long time, many years. In my teens, I was like, oh, I just want to name my kid that. And then when I got talking to you, it's like, oh yeah, that name. That's right. I think I remember that. I think I'll keep
Great
that.
minds think alike.
Say again.
Great minds think alike.
Great minds think alike. Yeah. Now, what you're touching upon there again, and this is something you said to me, not said to me, but you said through the Sons of Liberty Academy, and it's always stuck with me. And this is interesting. There's a number of things that you said back then which have really started to reign true more so now than anything else. And one thing in particular, and this touches upon what you're talking about in terms of the artistry and the, putting your heart and soul and the creative into that thing. You said in the Sons of Liberty Academy, I think it was, that later on down the track in the new paradigm shift, artists specifically are going to be much more venerated and championed than they are currently. Now, of course, we've got artists like, you got your musical arts like Taylor Swift and this and that, but we're talking about going back to like Michelangelo kind of times, Da Vinci kind of times. The Renaissance, exactly right. And when I heard that many years ago, I was like, okay, yeah, that could be true. Interestingly, with the uptick in AI, I actually believe, and actually I might get your opinion on AI as well if you have anything to say about that, but I now believe that to be much more the case, where the artists, the musical creators, the songwriters, I think they are eventually down the track going to be much more venerated than they currently are as well. Because, for example, anyone can go onto Grok or go onto an AI imagery program and say, create me an image of blah, 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 blah. And it goes, all right, it just pumps it out. There can be an infinite amount of art created by AI. The problem is, everyone knows that was created by AI. It's going to be the real art that was created by a human, whether that be the design on a silver coin or a song that an individual wrote because of the struggle that they went through or whatever. I actually believe that is going to be the case later on down the track, where art because a human made it is going to be much more venerated. Do you have anything to say on that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. To me, art is like the highest form of communication, and the artists that are able to do it at their best are able to transmit a story or a feeling that's over and above whatever the average person would do. But art allows you to get through people's educational barriers, language barriers, cultural barriers. Art is a universal communication, and when I did all these coins, I thought, kind of looking back at it, all these coins provided the highest communication in the form of a silver coin, and it transmitted truth through it. So I used art, truth, and silver to put these 500 different coins out there, and all told together, it makes for a singularity of truth. And nobody's ever attempted to do that, and I'm surprised that it hasn't flourished more. But it's definitely something that I put my whole heart and soul into. I still, to this day, am still trying to, get it going.
Well, I'd like to do a bit of show and tell now, if you don't mind. I'm going to show a couple of pieces, and this is the absolute artistry that has been able to come out of the silver bullet silver shield, and the silver shield as well. I'm going to share a few things, and I think you can still see me on the screen. I'm going to share. Thanks, man. Yeah, I've got a little bit of fun. You've gone the big beard since back in the day. How's the beard work? How's the beard working out for you, by the way?
I need it. My chin's too small, so when I get the beard, it looks like big and powerful. You have a good
Hilarious.
chin, so you don't need a beard.
Oh, thanks, man. I'm gonna end with the best one, which is the one that the one silver thing that I will never, even if I don't know if I'll sell my silver even because I might use it to borrow against it for something or whatever. But if I sell my silver, there's one item I will never ever sell from my cold dead hands. But I'll come back to that in a second. I did show this one here. So again, this is from the Silver Bullet Silver Shield range, and this was a Heidi Wasweed sculptress. One now, out of interest, what's Heidi up to these days? Are you still in contact with her ever, or is she like just doing her own thing?
She's doing her own thing. We did a whole bunch of coins together, and just I ended up using Duncan a lot more for all because he does digital art, so he was able to do high tech digital sculpting, and it's tough for the traditional sculptors to compete with that.
Yeah.
So I went with with Duncan because he provided a better deal.
Oh yeah, and look, it's a matter of mass production as well. That can be, a sculpture takes weeks and weeks and weeks, or even longer. Where total amount of time. And digital, it can take a lot quicker. Out of interest, just for the people who might be interested, gee, I want to get my hands. That's a cool coin, a cool round. I've never seen that before. The original 2012 Debt and Death coin. There's got a bunch of lighting issues there. They can get it on the secondary market. Obviously, the mintage I think was about 30,000 something. Is that right of this one?
Yeah, they did huge numbers back then.
Yeah. That was a great coin. So you can find them on the secondary market.
They're mostly on eBay though.
Yeah, you'll pay those fees. Here's the another classic one. Okay, and this was the proof-like version. And if no one's ever seen this before, this is of course, you did mention it before, the Keep Calm, the Slave Queen. Right there, that's the Keep Calm and Slave On coin. This is the 2012 Slave Queen proof-like medallion one. I'll pop it out of my thing. I've got all the old school stuff, Chris. I've kept it. I don't think I've literally sold any Silver Shield stuff.
I was so close to having that silver when I had Silver Bullet, Silver Shield. That thing was all about to take off, and it just got totally sabotaged by the inside. So I've had a lot of I feel I've been targeted for my efforts, and it's been a very hard road to do this by myself because there's been active effort against me because clearly what I'm talking about is not in the benefit of the banks or the governments or whatever people out there, but I'm speaking from a man to a man. At the end of the day, when when the whole system goes down, you're going to want to have physical silver in your possession because that's going to be the best monetary asset to have. When all these digital illusions of wealth collapse.
So that's the Slave Queen. And are you okay with me sharing the old school Silver Bullet designs? Is that cool?
Yeah. No,
so this is one of
all part of the family.
Yeah, man, this is one of the greatest designs of a coin I think I've ever seen. And the message, keep calm, if I can show that there. That's the Slave coin, keep calm and slave on. So if you can't see it very well for my people, I'll try and get that in focus as much as I can. It doesn't want to, that's right. You can see that it is like the Queen Elizabeth effigy, but a skull with the crown on the top. That is a beautiful coin. There's this larger one. Now, you don't just do them, or you didn't just do them in 1 ounce sizes. You even did them in the bigger boys. This is a lovely one. This is the 5 ounce Trivium proof-like one. I love that one. That was the design that you had for the reverse for quite some time, which was the Trivium right there. That is
grammar, logic, and rhetoric.
Grammar, logic, yep, grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And now I'm going to share with everyone, and some of my subscribers have seen this before. This is the one I will never, ever, ever get rid of. Number one, because it's a great design, but number two, because, and I'll share the quick story. Of course, when I worked for Gold Stackers, which is still in existence, a bullion dealer, I introduced Chris to the bosses, and we started purchasing the Silver Shield designs. Okay, we get in the cannabis round and the this and the that and all those. And we'd also buy the proof-like versions that come in the lovely boxes. Okay, now working for a bullion dealer has its perks and its privileges. Where we would get the shipment in from Golden State Mint, I may or may not have opened the box and checked the serial numbers for any cool serial numbers. May or may not have done that, and I did. And so this is my prized possession. I'll show you right here to everyone. This is the 1 ounce Sic Semper Tyrannus proof-like version. Okay, that's just, I mean, what an amazing design. Number one, you've got the Debt and Death, which harkens back to the original realm, the Debt and Death coin. You've got the banker down there, and you've got Lady Liberty, I guess, or a version of Lady Liberty standing over with a shield and that. But here's the thing. Here's the certificate number that I was able to get.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 1776. Yeah, man. I mean, now that's just a little kitschy thing for me. Maybe everyone else is like, so what? But no, man, it's like Sic Semper Tyrannus, 1776. That thing is that's going in my grave, as far as I'm concerned. And since then, I've purchased, lots of the Silver Shield rounds as well. The Warbird rounds and lots of the others, and the Micro-Mintages. Now, let me just double check if I have any other questions. We're going to get to probably a question and answer round at the moment. I think I've probably covered everything I need to. There was something about revaluation of gold, but maybe we've kind of talked a bit too much of gold. Do you know how recently Trump was talking about potentially, and that's actually, I want to find out a little bit more from you about Trump and stuff as well. So we will talk about that for a second. But the recent gold reevaluation thing where he said, or someone in the administration said, well, we can just revalue the gold on the Treasury's books, revalue it from $42.22 an ounce that it is currently, and then revalue it to the current market price that it is, and use that to help, pay off the debt and all that stuff. Is that a thing? What do you think about that?
They would have to make it $180,000 an ounce for it to make a difference in
any kind of dent. Yeah.
We would be selling off of our the final assets that we have to pay off this debt. What they really need to do is a Jubilee all this debt and then restart the system with the gold and silver. But you have to have a mass financial wipeout that that gets rid of all the debt, not just the debt and the taxes. I mean, we're living under an enslaved paradigm. Like I said, this is like a 2,025-year conspiracy from the money changers. Ever since Christ, threw out the money changers from the temple, they put a price on his head of 30 pieces of silver, which was 15 ounces of silver. And, that's what, $450 worth of silver. And that's what paid for Judas's betrayal and crucifixion of Christ. To me, silver is completely undervalued back then. But what it did was it sold our souls into this earth into debt, into bondage, into slavery, into usury, into wars, into taxation. And we're constantly abused. And to me, the end of the everything bubble is going to bring about a biblical ending to the entire Ponzi scheme. And when that happens, governments are going to have a lot of evidence on their hands of blockchain transactions and emails and all sorts of digital evidence to track down all the criminals that have looted this country. And we're seeing that with the DOGE committee going through. But wait until we have a financial crisis and that the markets start collapsing. That's when people are really going to start looking for the exits. And then I'm telling you, we're going to have one single day where all the silver dealers online are going to sell out, and that's going to be like,
yeah, what the hell happened? Yeah,
because there's not that much physical silver out there relative to all the other assets out there. Yep. Any move in the gold market into silver would blow it up, or the crypto market, or the real estate market, or any other market where they would want to get into something into this physical silver market. It's too small, and it's also done in such small sizes too. I mean, you get down to coins and bars, and it's tough to move that kind of large money in there because you can, what would you get, a 5,000 ounce bar?
Exactly. Yeah. If when that time comes, it would be literally like a day where, and this is the funny thing, right? On the day that I started my very first gold bullion dealership job at Gold Stackers in 2013 was literally the day that we'd already had the peak in 2011 of $50, and then we were hovering around that, that infamous $26 level. It had been acting as support, and then Monday morning over that weekend, silver had finally cracked below that $26 support, and everyone went, "Oh shit! It's below $26. Watch out!" My trial by fire, my very first day volunteering, was like lines out the door. Okay, and that's only because the price went down under a key support level. Okay, yes, imagine the time when, again, the price is above $50. We're getting into probably, I think personally, it's probably not until we hit triple digit US dollar silver that it even starts to go into the big mania phase. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
it'll sneak along quietly for
correct.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Where you and I are going to be like, "Oh my God, it's happening." But the rest of the people out there are
Du-
still
du-
going to
du-
be out.
du- 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 du.
Yep.
Yeah. So imagine that if, breaking a little bit of support at $26, imagine the time when, again, every man and his dog is trying to get it. And yeah, good luck. Something I was going to ask you, because you did touch upon it. What's your opinion? We'll go back, because many years ago, I remember, your videos on, say, Trump's first presidency, or even before he was president the first time. Then, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think at some point, whether it was during the 2016 election, maybe during the 2020 election, I think you may have you supported Trump at some point. I don't want to put words in your mouth. You tell me if that's the case. Where are you at with the Trump, the current administration, and in particular, because you mentioned it, what's your feeling just on Elon and DOGE and all that? Because there are many people who go, obviously, a lot of left-leaning people go, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's a this, Elon's a Nazi, he did a Nazi salute, he's a Nazi, all that kind of crap. And they're only in it for themselves. They're just trying to enrich themselves. Blah blah blah. Where do you sit with all of that these days?
Well, what I sit with is that Trump and Elon make for most powerful force on the planet right now. I voted twice for Trump, not because I think he's the best person in the world, but because I just really hated the other choice of what the future would bring with the Democrats, and we saw that with 4 years of Biden. And I'd rather have 4 years into Trump, obviously. But Trump is a Rothschild asset. It's been, he's been bailed out by the Rothschilds 3 different times of his bankruptcies of the casinos and stuff like that. He's owned and controlled by the Rothschilds, and they're the gold men. They're the money changers, and then they are the final boss. And I'm telling silver stackers, gold and silver are not friends to me. They're 2 different competing conscious energies of metallic precious metals. The gold men are the ones that fund all the wars. You look at there was the gold train that funded the Bolshevik Revolution that overthrew the Russians. Gold has been, founded the end of, Iraq. When we overthrew Saddam, they took all of his gold. We killed Gaddafi and took all of his gold. And then, when it comes time that we need the gold is gone out of Fort Knox. So to me, gold has got this slavery, wars and just criminality behind it. I call it the money of hell, and silver is the money of heaven. Silver is this miracle metal that we've been using and abusing as this industrial metal for all this time because it has so many uses. It has more uses than all the other commodities out there except for oil. So if you know how oil is so prevalent, silver is just as prevalent with 10,000 industrial uses. So I'm trying to get people to get out of gold, out of the dollar, and into physical silver, and certainly not into any digital assets, digital illusions of wealth, because they're all going to be subject to counterparty risk. It's one thing if you have a stock, but then how do you know your brokerage account doesn't go out of business, or your bank goes out of business, or your government hyperinflates the currency so that your stock gains that you make end up being paper losses? Whereas physical silver will be able to respond to that with higher and higher prices. We saw in Venezuela. I mean, when Venezuela's economy went down, there was a hyperinflation, and you were right. How much silver can you get, or how much bread can you get for silver is what's going to matter.
Right, absolutely. On just touching upon, just keeping on the Trump thing for a second, do you think that, and no, we can't read minds. We can't read the minds of another person. Do you think then, how can that potentially play out? So, for example, is if is and I'll take your word for it that Trump is controlled by the Rothschilds, for example, or the big money backers and all that. Do you think it's one of two things? Do you think it is, well, he's controlled by them, he is just going to do what they say, or do you think potentially it's because we're not going to know exactly, but is it the potential? Yeah, it's like, okay, I'll take your money, but I'm going to screw you over in the end. My end goal, for example, do you think Trump's end goal is actually the white knight, the white hat rather than the black hat? If you know that
Yes.
terminology, do you think he's a white hatter? If that makes sense, like from a
Yeah, no,
that's a techie term.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think at the end of the day that he'll end up making the right moves for the country. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why he's there.
Mm,
I think his heart is definitely into this America First thing, but
mm,
what he's shown so far is that we're end up supporting Israel and in all these wars, and the threatening the Houthis and all these other people out there. He's definitely serving Israel's interest, and I don't know if he's really doing America's interest yet because we still have homeless people that are living on the street, and there's work to be done here that we don't need to be sending money from our taxpayers to people overseas that are causing more genocide. I mean, if you look at what happened with Gaza, there's 2.4 million people that live there, and they decimated every block. There isn't a building left standing in Gaza. Where
mm,
do all those 2 million people go? And we
mm,
we funded all that. So
mm,
when you see all these protesters going on there, you know this is now funding a genocide and it needs to stop.
mm,
And it wouldn't happen unless we are sending money over there, but that's where the interests have been paid for. So
mm,
Trump is definitely bought and paid for. Do I think that he's going to end up, turning on the Israelis? No, I think he really believes in them and really believes that he's doing God's work and that. What can I also say something about Elon Musk? I think
Please, yeah.
he's
Oh no,
he's an
what are your thoughts?
well, he's an incredible genius, and for him to put himself out here, the guy runs 7 different companies, and they're all high tech, high investment things. I mean, in order to run one of those companies, you'd have to be a genius. And he's running
Mm-hmm.
7 of them.
Mm,
But then for him to go into the doing what he's doing with DOGE and the government, he's putting all of his wealth at risk. By cutting out all this waste and spending. So there, I mean, I got to give the guy a tremendous credit for doing what he's doing. He's an incredible genius.
yep.
Um, and I wish him all the luck. And this backlash, I don't know if you have a backlash of Tesla in Australia, but in the United States, in California, they're vandalizing all these Teslas because
Mm,
they're saying, that he's a Nazi and stuff. And what he's doing is just cleaning up waste, fraud, and abuse. And some of the abuse that they bring it up is ridiculous. I mean, I'm glad somebody's in there cleaning it up. So anybody who'd be against that, I don't know what side they're on.
it makes no sense to me. I am in the exact same camp as you. I think, again, we can't read minds, but what's the most obvious answer to me is someone that damn rich doesn't need any more damn money. Now, we do understand, look, someone could make the opposite end of the spectrum opinion and go, well, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Maybe he's just a total psychopath and he just wants more power and more money, even though he's the richest
No.
damn person in the world, at least the richest public person in the world. There's probably trillionaires
Yes.
already out there. But that makes no sense to me. It's like the dude's got all the money in the world. He's incredibly open. You listen to him speak and you go, this guy ain't a psychopath. He's admittedly on the spectrum of some kind, whether it's a bit of Asperger's or whatever. It's like, no, the dude, I honestly feel in my heart, he actually honestly cares, and he's got all the money in the world, and he's like, fuck you, I don't need any more money. I'll just run my companies and I'll try and save the country that took me in and the country that I love. That's the way I see it. Many people disagree, but screw them. Short answer. Now let's get to. I reckon that's probably enough of all that. So I think I wanted to cover everything I wanted to cover.
One thing I just wanted to
Yeah,
say with
yeah,
with Trump,
yeah.
Trump represents the gold men out there. So I think
Okay.
that when we get to the final climactic battle
Yeah. How does that
between
work?
silver and gold,
Yeah.
when we get to the final climactic battle between silver and gold, silver is going to get revalued higher than gold. So
Okay.
somebody's got to have to come out on the scene that's going to speak the silver truth. I hope I'm that person,
Mm,
but I would like to be able to put out there
mm,
that when silver starts going up in price, that you need to have somebody out there who says, it needs to go even higher. So that's why I try to bring to the idea of the table of a 1-to-1 gold to silver ratio as a financial gravity, a spiritual gravity
Mm.
of transmitting energy between silver and gold money. Like I said, silver is the money of heaven and gold is the money of hell. That if those two currencies are competing for Earth, there would be a 1-to-1 gold to silver ratio. And to me, that would make for a 90-time bagger for silver investors relative to gold when the whole world economy is probably going to be in free fall. So the purchasing power of that silver is going to be even more magnified because of the collapse of the dollar value and also relative to the value of gold. So, Trump can be the gold representative of the United States when they're looking to revalue the dollar and stuff like that. I would hope to be the silver representative and be able to speak for the silver stacking community to push the price of silver higher than gold.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd love to see you in that role. If it's not you for some reason, and I believe in manifesting your destiny
David
and all
Morgan,
that. David Morgan, yeah, David Morgan. How's this? Some people say, and we'll get back to Elon just for 2 seconds. Some people say that if that's going to be the case, that Elon could potentially be the one because SpaceX, Tesla, blah blah blah. Some people said, Elon's going to buy a silver mine and he's going to do this. Do you see any connection whatsoever with maybe Elon in silver? Is that a thing, or just like nah?
yeah, I've been posting on X, all about silver, and I put in the idea that Elon Musk, who's got all these companies that I'm sure are intensive use of silver, he should go out and buy physical silver or the mine,
Mm,
if he thinks so. But I would go out and buy physical silver. Another major actor out there who has been a silver bug before and is sitting on $330 billion worth of cash is Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett could go in and go buy a bunch of silver and make a big stink. And this is like a headline that if that ever got out, that would permanently change the silver market forever
yeah.
because there would be this huge whale that comes back into the physical silver market after being forced out of it from before. I believe that Warren Buffett was forced out of his 135 million ounce position, and that gave rise to the SLV. They forced him
Mm,
out of it, and that
mm,
that all of his ounces are now at the basis of the SLV.
mm.
So, I mean, for him to come back, and he's sitting on $330 billion. It's not like he's invested in the stock market right now.
Yeah, he
He
pulled
sees
it
that we're
out.
at the end of the everything bubble. So between Warren Buffett or Elon Musk, Bill Gates is another guy who invested in physical silver and is no longer in it.
Did
The
he?
United States military should be investing in physical silver because of all the industrial uses that we have, and that China and Russia both have 29,000 tons and 22,000 tons of silver, and we don't have anything. And yet we still have this large military with just-in-time delivery, and we don't have any backup for it. So there's major players out there. Apple Computer should be buying physical silver. Samsung, Tesla, all these companies out there, all the solar power companies in China and India, they're all buying it. So to me, there's a nonstop demand for amount of silver. You can always find ways of using silver, but there's less and less resources out there for them to take from. And like I said, we've been in this 200 million ounce silver deficit where we're literally consuming silver more than we can mine it, and we're using up all the stockpiles. And at some point, it's going to blow, and it's going to be the biggest event ever.
Again, I've always loved that passion, and again, it's so great to see in you. Again, just like as the same or more than 20 years
Thank you.
ago.
I
Yeah.
was I was nervous coming back on because it's been a while since I've done this.
No, man, I think it's been great. Let's keep going though. We have a bunch of questions. If you're happy to take a couple of
Yeah.
questions here, we'll do some comments, etc. I'm going to share the screen now. What I was doing is I was taking precedence for anyone who did a super chat. But if you put the word QQQ in your comment, that means that you wanted your question up there. There was a couple of. I do want to introduce you to someone who is one of our, it's actually the moderator of our channel. And she, if I can find her thing here, she's actually, let me show you, landed in Ozo Price, the thing, I can't find it. Oh, there we go, right here. I'm going to introduce you to Hey, Chris, meet Tony Peterson. Now, Tony has been a long-term stacker for a very long time. I'll pop this up there. I don't think you can see the comment, but I will read it out. Tony actually is one of the people. Many years ago, I was actually. Bring it back to myself for a second. Many years ago, I was to up my ounces of silver. I was buying your Silver Shield, Micro-Mintages, etc., and I was doing group buys. So I'd say, "Hey guys, I'm going to buy." X amount, who wants in? And so if 10 people bought, I'd buy them from you through Golden Statement. Then I'd add my little premium. So if I could sell, say, maybe 5 or 6, then that would equal like 1 silver ounce for me. So that was a way to up my silver ounces. But I haven't been doing that for a long time. Tony Peterson here, she actually still purchases your Micro-Mintages, your Mini-Mintages, etc., and then on-sells them in Australia. So Tony, Chris, Tony, she has a question here, which is, I really miss the mini mintage silver releases and mini mintage copper. Can you please produce them again with a prayer sign with the designs post October 2016? That's a very specific question, but yeah. You? What do you think about that?
My volumes are so small. My mintages on these coins are like 300. I simply just don't have the volume to like continue doing the lower BUs one and the copper. I just don't have the reach I used to. Ever since I lost my YouTube channel, it's just been a downhill battle.
Let's if you don't mind just talking about that for a second. We're seeing things though you mentioned it. How long ago was that the YouTube channel
3 years.
3 years. Okay. And what was the impetus for them to do that?
I posted a naked picture of a girl on there, and
on
they
YouTube.
and nuked the whole channel.
Okay.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Okay.
That's the reason why I lost it all.
Okay.
So
that wasn't. By the way, that was
4,000 videos.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. That wasn't a gotcha. I actually didn't know the reason why.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And yeah, you had 4,000 videos.
So I mean, if you look at what I've done, I tried to create the intellectual foundation for a global revolution to get away from the debt and death paradigm, and then it all centered on having physical silver. But I had to educate people about the way of the world, and you have been a great example of this. And it makes me feel good that I did all this work because I know I made a positive influence on people. But I tried to lay the intellectual foundation for a revolution and have it be funded by physical silver, and that it would be a self-fulfilling loop. But when I lost this channel on YouTube, I really just cut the communication cycle, and everything has just been spiraling ever since then. So I'm glad to be able to get out on an interview like this, and hopefully it'll lead to other interviews and bring back some of the energy back into my business, because it's been, like I said, it's been a long struggle.
Yeah, it's been man.
And I'm up against tremendous odds. I mean, I'm up against the Rothschilds. I mean, they're trillionaires. I mean, they can do anything that they want. But that's ultimately what I'm the antithesis of. That this silver shield is that the tip of the silver stacking community, the very edge of it, telling all these stories in the physical silver against these big bad players that have this entire Ponzi scheme to be blamed on. So to me, the story is going to come around to me at some point with what I've done, and that I hope that when silver does take off, that somebody remembers that I was a part of it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any chance now that you won't be remembered as part of it, with the body of work that you did, the Silver Shield coins, etc. Tony Peterson says, Chris would know me as Knowledge is Power on the Silver Shield group. Okay, so there's a bit of a tip for you. Don't answer anything that you don't want to, but again, I remember going through the Sons of Liberty Academy, learning about And the Greatest Truth Never Told, learning about, again, the 5 stages of awakening versus likened to the 5 stages of grief. Do you think in that point where you lost the YouTube channel, etc., do you think you were going back through any of those? Were you circling back into denial, anger, bargaining, depression, any one of those?
No, I got personally attacked. My whole family dynamic blew up, and it was a coordinated gaslit attack, and I really believe the government was behind it. I had 4 SUVs lined up down the street on a day that I've had a lot of if a movie's ever made about my story,
Yeah.
the personal struggles that I've been dealing with are just as big as the public ones. So,
Yeah. Right.
like I said, my heart has been in this from heart and soul to give as much information to as many people and to make as big a difference as I possibly could. And
Mm.
I was just met with more and more resistance and silence and ostracization, and been down onto a void. I mean, I tweet almost every day, and I get only 200 views on my tweets because I'm just I'm either shadow banned or, for 14 years I've been on Twitter and I only have 3,000 subscribers.
Mm.
It's tough because I had
Mm.
170,000 subscribers with the YouTube channel, and like I said, I made one mistake and then I lost it all. So I've been paying a huge price for it.
Mm. I was going to ask you about So Twitter recently. What was I going to say about that? Yes. Well, number one, everyone should be following Chris at Silver Shield 76. That's Silver Shield 76 on Twitter, or X now, as called. And are there any? We're not ending it just yet, but I'll give the sort of the plugs. We find you now on Rumble. Is that right? You're not back on YouTube, but
Yep.
you are on Rumble, aren't you? And that's at
Rumble.
Silver Shield 76, I think, as well.
Yes, it
So
is.
yeah, so everyone should
Thank
be
you for
following.
telling that.
No, it's part of the deal. No problem. I'm putting you on the spot for a second, okay? And this is probably really putting you on the spot. But I say the following, or I ask the question. I didn't even think I would do this, but I will. I ask this. I frame it in a way that comes from a literal, like, kind of like a weird kind of like brotherly love kind of thing. I did notice over the number of years, and maybe it's actually not that long ago. I don't think it was even 3 years ago, that on the X channel, for example, there was a period, and maybe there still is a period, where you were really trying to capture the attention, I think you were trying to shock people or capture the attention of maybe the admins or the whatever. And I had noticed back then similar things where you had posted some. I won't say any more than I noticed it. Posted some stuff on there that when I saw it on there, I went, "Holy crap! Did that come from his account?" If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I do also notice that you tend to post in like lots of all caps and things like that. Is that from a pure? And I'm just taking this back to a pure common denominator persuasion kind of thing. Is that a deliberate choice that you're making because it's just so people see it on the thing? What's the, rather separate to the thing, the stuff that you were posting, which I know you're not posting anymore, but all
Yeah.
caps and all like that. What's the
There was
thought process behind that?
a lot of anger. I was going through a lot of like personal.
See, you were going through the anger phase again.
Yeah. Well, no, not at arriving
No,
where I was in denial about
no.
how the system is.
No.
This is now the system attacking me. I thought I was the good, clean Boy Scout, United States Marine that went out and told the truth about all these bad guys out there, educating people, laying out the intellectual foundation for a second American Revolution, to get rid of all this debt and death, and and I didn't get the the pat on the back, I guess, to go to the next level. And like I said, it's been a long ride down for me, but I know I put in my life's work, and I still, to this day, I'm still doing 100%, and I'm still motivated to do all this stuff, speak out against the Rothschilds, promote physical silver, because I think that's the thing that's going to change at the end of the day, is that their debt and death paradigm is going to be exposed for a criminal cabal that's been behind all the wars that have been out there, both sides since Napoleon. I mean, hundreds of millions of people have died, and we're still enslaved to debt with them. And all it would take is a jubilee of one day of a financial market crisis that seizes up the global economy, which would probably revolve around the physical default of silver at the LBMA. And then that would send out derivatives on the silver market that would be, possibly trillions of dollars, because they're leveraged so high against silver. And then if silver becomes unobtainium, where they can't physically get it, how does that price ever how does that price ever settle in paper terms?
Mm.
So, and then there would be silver shorts that they're short 840 million ounces. They would have to buy back, and then there's no physical ounces out there. It's a complete nightmare that's coming down the road, and it's like a big train. And I'm saying, hey, the train's coming, everybody, and we should get out of the way of it, um, or at least get ahead of the curve.
Yep. No, I hear you, man. And again, I think
But
it's a testament to the fortitude of just keep on keeping on, through adversity and through all that. If I was to, if I, and maybe I'll answer. Maybe this is the last question, I guess. Actually, I have a couple more. But how are you feeling at the moment in general? Like other than just I mean, silver, 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 but just in your own. Oh, that was the question I wanted to ask you. That's actually, and this will tie into this. So my apologies. What have you? This is I'll frame it in a different way. What have you learned about yourself, I guess, in this 15, 20-year journey? Is there anything different now about you than, say, when you were, your mid-30s, early mid-30s, starting off 2011, all that stuff? Is there,
yeah.
what have you learned about yourself? You come to 2025.
I think when I turned 50, that's what really hit me. I was running, full speed at 40, 45, and as soon as I hit 50, that's when I was like, this is taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, and it really took the wind out of my sails. But like I said, once you've learned the truth about something, you can't unsee it. And to me, like the frame is so big. Like I know I can't go back to the old paradigm. I don't know if I could even go work inside that paradigm again. Um, and I'm just praying that silver does what it's supposed to do when it counts the most. And up until then, it's going to be a good performing asset. I mean, it's definitely been a decent place to be. But when you look at what happened with the crypto market and trillions of dollars of money going into the crypto market, I kept up thinking that all that money, all that effort was shunned away from the silver community. And if we had that kind of investment in physical silver, it would have permanently ended the debt and death banking system. With the default so large that they would have to like rescale everything, and without central banks, there's no possibility for global wars anymore. And so I would think that they would turn the governments into cleaning up the mess like they didn't do in 2008. In 2008 there was no bankers arrested for all the financial frauds that happened. But when this one happens, it's probably going to be so big that the whole world's going to cry out for justice. So I think that this is going to be the largest financial event ever of the collapse of the everything bubble, and it's going to come at the exact same time that there'll probably be a default of physical silver on the LBMA, and I think that that's going to be the spark, the nexus, the linchpin, whatever straw that makes the camel's back. That's what's going to be the final moment, and then it's Judgment Day after that point. I mean, at that point, if all the financial markets are seized up and gold and silver are the only thing left standing, and silver is defaulted and there's tons of gold around, I mean, there's got to be a day of reckoning that's going to come, and it's going to be biblical, and it's going to change everything forever.
Agree. Totally agree. And I forgot to do it. We'll do it at the end. But last question. This is what I try to ask of all of my interviewees that I'm starting to get more and more now. I'm going to start this. How do you keep yourself, just from a physical perspective? I'm always interested to know, because I have my own views on diet and lifestyle and exercise and all that kind of stuff. How do you keep yourself healthy from a physical perspective, from a mental perspective, even, so that you and I, we do get to that time where we see that eventual paradigm shift? Short answer is, how do you stay healthy, Chris?
One of the things that would help me was having one meal a day.
OMAD. OMAD.
I was always like 10 to 15 pounds overweight.
Yep.
And it's because I was eating 3 meals a day. So I just cut it out to one meal a day, basically.
Yep.
I drink a lot of fluids during the day, and then,
Mm.
I do my exercise. I call my 1001s like Ron Burgundy, do a couple weightlifting,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. OMAD, one meal a day. That's very popular. I fast in the mornings. I don't eat breakfast generally. I'll have two meals in a day. Everyone knows on my channel I live the carnivore lifestyle, basically zero carb, all that stuff, and
Yes.
that's kept me in that kind of zone. So I'm really hoping that you and although I'm 40, I'll be 47 next month. So we're kind of
Okay, I'm
getting
51.
getting close-ish in area. I hope we're still around at the time, when this all goes down, because it's going to be it's funny. It would be a somber party, but it'd be kind of a party in unto itself, if that makes sense. Like I've told people over the years, if this kind of thing happens, you may get very wealthy, but bear in mind you also may get relatively wealthy compared to everyone else. So I've said many years, precious metals is a great wealth preserving tool, but at that time, everyone else might be going down while you're going up. So, but it's still, I do hope to live to that
But
day.
your choice is what's your choice though? To go down
Exactly.
with them?
Yeah,
I mean that's not
that's
a
right.
choice, and you can't,
That's right.
especially when you're looking at your children's eyes. Like
Hmm.
I couldn't imagine saying, to my kids when a movie I think that would probably best describe this for your audience if they've seen Gone with the Wind. When the South
Mm.
lost, they lost everything, and that's what I
Mm.
think is going to end up happening to the United States and the entire civilized global economy. The
Mm.
globalism is going to come to a screeching halt at some point. There's going to be market collapses, and it's going to be the everything bubble, and it's going to be on a scale that's going to be biblical. I think is the only way to describe it. And then when it's biblical, it's eternal. Like we're not going to head into another recession. It's not going to be another depression.
You
It's
think
going to be a
this is
complete
it?
epoch paradigm change.
Right.
It's and there's not coming back from it. It's not like we're going to be able to like repump up the debt-based economy after it blows up. There's probably going to be too many criminals that are attached to them that they're going to end up seizing all their assets with civil asset forfeiture.
Mm. Well, I remember when, and we'll wrap this up in the next couple of minutes. I remember when we did our strategy session, and even you looked at, you said, "Hey, show me where you live. Let's look at it on Google Maps." And I showed you, where I lived, and you're like, "Oh man, you live in Melbourne City area. That's like how many people there? 4 million people." It's like, dude, get the f out of cities. And I remember going, "Yeah, I got to get the f out of cities." And so now I don't live in
Think
a
about
major.
how exposed you would be when that happens.
Yeah,
I
man.
watched videos of just New York City right now. I mean, they got insane people walking
Just
naked around the street,
just
beating
whacking
up
people on the
people
head. Yeah, yeah,
because they're waiting to get. I mean, and that's a good day. That's
yeah,
with the lights still on. That's with the police still in business.
yeah.
What happens when that all goes out?
And
I,
so
I
I,
try telling the police officers in my family. I said, "What happens when the paychecks and the pensions stop? Are you guys going to go show up to work the next day?"
yep. And that was one of the reasons why I did move out of that city kind of area. So I'm not in that area anymore. And lastly, something you told me, which that you suggested I do, which I actually ended up doing and still do. And I won't say any more than you might need a method to protect what you have, down the track. And so even though in Australia that's a harder thing to do than it is in the United States, if you get what I'm talking about,
Yes.
I even enacted that. So I would,
Good.
and it's been a great journey too, I must say. Yeah. Anyway, so I appreciate you for your all your work in the last 15, 20 years. I don't think this will be the last time we chat, by the way. I'm sure you'll come on at another time. We'll talk about where we are. If something major happens in the world, I'll get your take on it, for example. But
I appreciate it, Joe.
no
Thank
worries,
you.
man. No worries. So I want to say a big thank you to Chris Duane from the Silver Shield series. Go out on March the 31st and go and buy. So again, I'll share the screen. If you are in, if you are in the United States, go and buy a Silver Shield round. So you can head over to the Golden State Mint. Now they have the micro mintage that's on sale for the next 16, 17 hours. But on, let's see if I go back here, you can actually see all the other stuff that they have available for sale right now. You've got old school, you've got the AG round, the AG47 round, Against All Enemies, the Cannabis round, the copper rounds, all these other amazing silver shield, copper and silver.
The bars are really good too.
The bars are cool, like the Den of Thieves one. I think that's really cool as well. So there's lots of opportunity to buy on March 31st from Golden State Mint. And of course, if you do want to, you can purchase internationally as well on March 31st. So that's an area even Australians can buy from the Golden State Mint. But if you want to stay local, I would suggest buying from what I think is the best bullion dealer in Australia, which is perthbullion.com.au. Get free shipping when you have 20 or more items in your shopping cart. Mate, the last thing we'll do, because we didn't do it at the start, but I will get you to do it at the end, is the synchronized slurp. So we're going to end the show with that. So what we do is
a little bit left.
That me too, actually. I've got that in my hand written daddy mug that my kid did. Ready? And you must do it. Everybody, slurp your beverages in 3, 2, 1, go. I heard a bit of a slurp there. That's good. Chris, Duane, thank you so much for joining us. I will end this now, and I'll say my usual, stay safe, stay informed, keep stacking, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.